welcome to Admiral Markets at our live trading room. Thanks for joining today on the Thursday, 29th of August. It's going to be interesting, the end of August, because with September around the corner, we're going to have some more market movements, I do believe. So we're going to take a look at the charts in just a second. Before we do that, of course, this risk disclaimer explaining that trading foreign exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. And this video and webinar is for educational purposes only. So I do thank you for your attention on that. Once again, we welcome you to this live trading room hosted by Admiral Markets. My name is Chris, and we're going to take a look at intraday trading today. So if you're more of a swing trader, we'll be doing that on Tuesdays. And today we'll primarily focus on the euro and pound. These currencies have not really moved much, but let's take a look at those. Today we also have an educational webinar at 5 p.m. London. I believe we're going to take a look at range trading. So that's coming up later today. Alrighty. Make sure to take a look at Admiral Markets at the Twitter and Facebook and your own website. A lot of good stuff, for example, like Traders Calculator, Forex Calendar, Analytics, Wave Analysis. You can find it all there at the website, of course, and also the recordings of the educational topics. So please take a look at that. A lot of great stuff. So I'm going to introduce Michael, who's going to walk you through some interesting information. If Michael is there, otherwise I'll just, there he is.
Hello, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Michael Onhoff. Thank you very much, Chris, for your lovely introduction. Good morning to everybody who decided to join us today. I will now change the settings to my screen to show you my part of the presentation. There you go. Here's my lovely picture. Once again, my name is Michael Onhoff, and I'm a client relationship manager at Admiral Markets. My job, in essence, is to create the best possible trading environment for you. Here is my email address, my phone number, and also my Skype. You can add me anytime you wish to speak about anything at all. I'll be more than happy to help you out with everything. And here you go. Run a Google search on my name, find me on LinkedIn, and add me as your connection. Today I wanted to take a small detour, speak about something that is not really 100% Forex relatable, but which is exactly 100% relatable to your lives. I see that the amount of participants in this webinar is growing, and we do have people who attend the webinars on a constant basis. It is very pleasant to see that. It is great to see that a lot of our traders do not stop and carry on with their education, trying to make tomorrow more profitable than today. When you work in a financial company like I do, you get to meet a lot of different people who are interested in finance. You meet traders who have been trading for years. You meet people who are just making their first step in the market. You get acquainted with successful traders and the ones whose profits are not as high as they could be. I have always wondered, what separates a successful trader from the rest? If you analyze the field, you reach a conclusion that great stable results are not down to the strategy implemented or even intellectual capabilities. Both of those factors are very important. Don't get me wrong, you should still do everything you can to become better at those. But there is something else that should be considered. After all, the things you should know to be able to make good decisions in Forex are difficult. But the concepts are not impossible, and I'm sure that every single one of your traders could have seriously improved their overall trading results if they tried hard enough. I'm convinced that a lot of our traders must go beyond learning about the variety of trading techniques and should also approach their trading from the motivational and psychological side. It is fairly simple to measure your success in trading. If you're profitable on a constant basis, you're successful. If you make losses, you're not so successful. Angela Lee Duckworth has conducted an interesting research in the US. She studied people in challenging environments, and the aim of the study was to determine who was successful and why. She studied teachers, army personnel, and salespeople at multinational corporations. And at the end, one key characteristic emerged. It was not health, good looks, or IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and stamina towards your long-term goals. Grit is sticking with your future day in and day out, not for a day, not for a year, but for a long, long time. It is living a life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Here's a picture of a London marathon. This is a starting line. You see all those people came to this city, came to this place with one aim and one aim only, to run those 42 kilometers. And look at this. Here's the finish line. We have a lonely person finishing. He's the first one to reach the finish line, and there's nobody behind him. This is life. This is exactly how hard it's going to be. You'll have to try your best to reach the finish line and to be the first. The most interesting thing about grit, because it's grit that helped this person to reach the finish line, is how little we know about it and how little we try to learn it. How do we get ourselves motivated and have the strength to follow through with our commitments? The answer to this question, well, no one knows. There's no answer to this question. So far, the best idea is being currently developed in Stanford University. It shows that your ability to learn and analyze, and that is pretty much what Forex is all about, is not constant. It changes with your efforts. And more you try, more things you do, get to do better. For example, trading, more you trade, more you learn about trading, more adaptable to trading and learning you become. Greedier you become. You become a person who is a lot more likely to persevere even if he fails. I wanted to let you know that failure in something, it can be anything, it can be life, it can be Forex, is not attributed to your talent or your intellectual capabilities. It is your lack of grit. This is what's holding you back. When you choose something as your goal, as your aim, you have to put continuous efforts into achieving it. For all of us here, we use Forex as a tool. We want to use Forex to have an extra source of income, and then possibly we want to use Forex as a path to total financial independence. And that is great. This is a fantastic future we have imagined for ourselves, but many of us will fail. But we fail not because of the economy, we fail not because of the broker, and not because we were not smart enough. We only fail because we don't have the grit to follow through on the dream every day, year after year. So now that's why I spoke about people who attend the webinars on a constant basis. You are getting there. Keep learning, keep doing things better, and you would have done them yesterday. Success and everything that comes along with it is reachable. All you have to do is work towards it every day for years and years. Do not give up. This is something that I wanted you to take away from this webinar. It's all about your perseverance and grit. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you will enjoy the second part of this webinar and learn a lot of new things. You can later on try them on our demo accounts. If you have any questions at all about this topic I've raised or about anything else, don't hesitate to contact me on Skype, my phone, or email. Or once again, do a Google search with my name, find me on LinkedIn, I'll be as a connection. I'll be very happy to accept it. Thank you very much. I will now pass the microphone to Chris, who will fill you in on the today's live session.
Thank you so much, Michai. Very interesting topic. Indeed, absolutely very important to have that motivation to learn every day, step by step. Indeed, working towards the goals, very important. Nothing goes in one shot rocket towards the goal. Indeed, leaps and bounds is the way forward. Absolutely. So we're going to take a step towards that goal. In fact, today. And one of the things we do for that is take a look at this calendar to see if we have anything that could be substantial of importance for our trading today. And as far as I remember, we don't have anything substantial, but I just want to check, and that is indeed true. The only thing that could be just out of interest, German unemployment change, but that's a medium impact. We do have light news, for example, like the Spanish GDP in 4 minutes, and the Italian consumer confidence. Okay, so let's go to our charts and take a look at what the market is telling us. Well, this is the dollar index, just out of curiosity, and it is breaking that downtrend channel that we talked about yesterday. So that is confirming that the dollar strength bias that the chart was obviously showing in its formation. It was at weekly support, as we were saying. It was also at a major trend line, and also showing an inverse head and shoulders. So there were definitely items here that could say that the dollar was going to strengthen, and that's exactly what happened. We're now breaking out of the channel, and in fact we're probably piercing through the daily resistance as we speak. Yes, we already broke that level. You can see pushing through that. So, clearly pushing through the channel and the last horizontal level. So with that in mind, dollar strength in the dollar index, let's take a look at our euro dollar and pound dollar and see how that shapes up with those currencies, okay? Alrighty, there it is. Our intraday analysis mode, viewing mode. The euro dollar, let's see, currently at 132.70. The last 2 hours have seen a intense fall for such an early morning, right? European Open did open an hour ago. Usually doesn't see that much movement as we've seen today. 60 pips to the downside in the hour before European Open, and the first hour of Europe is a lot. That's not common, and that probably has to do with the fact that the dollar is breaking, of course, and we're actually, if you look at the Carrilla indicator here, we're actually on the way from L4 to, yeah, L4 to L5. L5 is at around 132.50. And we're getting a breakdown of that triangle. If you look at, for example, let me show you this chart right in here. We were looking at yesterday's triangle right about like this. I think we had approximately, and then we had a top line like this. So that's the triangle. Yesterday we broke that in the New York session, or just actually, yeah, around the New York session we broke that, or just before that. So a few hours after our session yesterday we broke that, gave a bit of a retrace, but this morning getting a tremendous follow through, but it's happening a bit early. So you can see the moving average band already pointing to the downside, and the triangles is now definitely being confirmed that it's broken to the downside. Yesterday, of course, we already had that punch through, right? That was already a first signal of the break. 132 could still be an important level for the for maybe some support, because we have kind of that level right in here. Do you see that, with tops in here, a top in here, bottoms in here? That could still be a significant level. Otherwise, if that is broken, there should be quite a lot of space to the downside, and we could go all the way back down to the wedge at 128. Okay, there's still maybe some space to the 132, so we can look into that. Let's take a look at this. You can see already the color, the 4-hour color already red, indicating a downtrend here on the 4-hour chart, 1-hour chart as well. day chart is grayish, indicating neutral. So this trend indicator confirming the switch logically. If you look at the stochastics, everything is red. That was different yesterday, wasn't it? So here too, everything pointed to the downside in the meantime. The indicators here are quite oversold, so we could maybe get a snapback here, a retracement. I mean, 60 pips in the first 2 hours of so early on in the day is quite massive. We could get a bit of retrace and then maybe a fall. That fall could be interesting. The retrace, not so, obviously, because we broke a triangle to the downside and we made a pretty steady move to the downside. We're not at a significant support level that I would justify necessarily taking along here, even though we're in the oversold region. Does that make sense? I'll repeat that. We're not at a major support level that would justify a long. If we have, I don't know, some major level here, that could make sense. To me, that doesn't seem so. 132, for example, would be a major support. So upside is counter trend at the moment. Not interested in that. If it does move up and retrace and then bounce to the downside, that would be interesting because that's with the momentum. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If not, always let me know. Don't be shy to ask anything because, as Mihai said, we're here to learn as well. And you learn the most from asking questions if you're not sure about anything. So please, by all means, ask me anything you want. We'll take a look at that, okay? The fib indicator, well, the support fibs that we were talking about yesterday, the currency punched through them, bounced off the last remaining fib, the weakest of them all, but now punching through that as well. So obviously, you can see now the fib confluences are at the top, above price, not below price anymore. So the psychology has changed, right? And a move up is a retracement. So that's another confirmation of that. What else to look at? Let me see. I think we looked at all these screens so far. Let's take a look at the pound. The pound dollar hasn't had that much downside as the euro dollar at the moment. Does have some negative, some bearish candles, but not as, the movement is not as big. It's still 35 pips, no more, 50 pips in fact, if you take the top here, the last few hours. So not that bad. We had a massive upside. Yesterday we had a good trade on this pound dollar that was, let's see, yesterday there was some, the L4 and L5 were somewhere in here, right? That worked out fine. We talked about it yesterday. We were saying that we don't want to trade it in here because we're not sure which direction it can go. It could still spike up. Wait for confirmation, and it did push through and right into our L4, L5 Camarilla zone. And in fact, there was a great bear flag yesterday. Sorry to deviate here for a second from our analysis, but just a quick observation. We had a great small bear flag right in front of the L4, which gave us a perfect spot to hide that stop loss right above there, entry right there below that small mini bear flag. And that was a great trade. So I hope you caught those pips. Back to our analysis. Today we have L4 around 154.65 and 154.08 is the target. That's a bit lower than here now. Technically, you can see that it's in a downtrend, obviously making higher, lower lows, lower highs. We can draw maybe a channel like this. Well, sorry about that. We can draw some channel maybe like that to give an indication. Obviously, downtrend channel. All right. Now let's take a look at 4-hour chart. Maybe you can see some support right in here. That is where we stopped. Then again, you have to realize also that, let's take a look at this line right in here. Well, yeah, it's in a downtrend. One could argue, if you really want to debate about it, that maybe all support hasn't been broken yet. Because if you do something like that, you can see a trend line as well. So, although it's a downtrend, definitely on a 4-hour chart, probably on the day chart as well, you can see still potential support around this level. So something to be aware of. Then again, I do think that the downtrend shadow will be able to push through that. But it's good to be aware of that. Let's take a look at that day chart. Well, it's good to look at the day chart because we do see a massive wick here at the bottom. It was bearish, but both days had pretty big wicks. So there is some support there, interestingly enough, around this 154.50 level. Interesting. So definitely downtrend on the 4-hour chart. Day chart, we can see that price is responding to this support level. Okay, we do see some reaction to that. So it's going to be interesting. I've seen this more often on the pound, where if it's reversing like this, the first moves down are very spiky. Something like this. And then it falls fast. So it will look like a bull flag, but in fact the downtrend has started. This down move reminds me of that. I've seen it many times. I recognize the pattern. Does that have to be this time as well? No. I mean, this could in fact be a bull flag maybe, who knows. But because of my past pattern recognition, I would be inclined to say that this is, looking at the dollar index as well and the fact that euro broke, I would be more inclined to think that this is the beginning of a downtrend. But it doesn't really matter what I think. We are looking at the charts and just reading its behavior and looking at support and resistances and trying to do objective analysis. And really the currency has a roadmap in front of us. We just have to read the map. We're map readers. We're not thinking what the currency can do in fact. Okay, that's always the case. The only thing we're looking for is trying to determine what is the trend. If there's a trend, are there any filters that could block the trade? What is the opportunity? And what are the key levels? That's it. Mac mentioned if that could be a inverse head and shoulders here. It's possible, would be a bit lower maybe. Something to be aware of. So in that regard, the L4 is positioned nicely because if we go that low, then that would most likely confirm that it's not an inverse head and shoulders. So good observation there, Max. Something that we can keep an eye on. If we do break that level around 154.80, then it's probably not. Let me show you a normal chart of the pound dollar because I don't think black is the best background for you to view the charts. So let me take a look at the other chart here on the pound dollar. Pound dollar, we do have engulfing 4-hour twins here. Oh, sorry about that. Not sure what happened. Anyhow, we do have 4-hour engulfing twins to the downside. In a 4-hour downtrend, that is usually a signal that we're probably going to continue to the downside. Let me take a look at this 5-minute chart. So maybe we can see a bit of a retrace here for more downside. Let me take a look at the 15-minute world and see where the initial high and low of the day are. So that's the initial high and the low of the day. So far, we've broken that initial high and low by breaking to the upside and falling back, getting support off the initial daily low, moving back to the initial high of the initial high of the day, finding resistance there, and then pushing through the support. So basically spiking up and then down out of that range. Interesting. So I think either shorting at the L4 Camarilla indicator levels there, lower, maybe, or an earlier sell back if we can get back maybe to retrace the initial day's high, maybe somewhere in here, for example. That could be interesting. We've had 4 hours of downside. If we get maybe 1 or 2 hours of upside, then probably that would be the retracement for more downside. We have to keep an eye on how this pound dollar is behaving in this up move. It's moving pretty aggressively. Let's keep an eye on it. If we can see some rejection, maybe. Obviously, you know, if we do break these highs right around 155.30, well, then the pound dollar is definitely doing something else than I think it is, because till now, or that it's showing, because till now it's making a lot of continuation of the downside. If it does break 155.10, no, 155.50, then maybe the currency is finding that support. Maybe the inverse head and shoulders is finished as it is already, as Mac was showing. You know, but the key level would be this trend line and the 155.10. That's key resistance. If that breaks, then definitely something else is going on here. And well, not different, but then the daily support levels are strong enough to give it that punch to the upside. And the 4-hour trend to the downside is could be maybe over. So something to be aware of. Anyhow, that's of later concern. Let's keep an eye on this 5-minute chart for the moment to see if there's any rejection. Let me go back to the full scale mode here. The Camarilla is still indicating actually short at 155.67 at H3, and longs above 156. That makes a lot of sense, because anything under that is still highly bearish, I think, especially below 155.50. We got a bounce here off the L3 at 155 round number as well. So as we keep an eye on the pound, let's just take a look at what's happening with the euro here in the meantime. Okay, the euro oscillator is something we should also look at. Actually, on this 5-minute world, we didn't talk about it yet. But if you look at this down move, as I said, this is a very aggressive move. It's 80 pips actually to the downside, which is a lot for the euro so early. And something we should look at is the oscillator. It's very strong downside. The currency probably on this euro dollar in any case is going to make a retracement probably back to this band around 133. When the oscillator is back to the zero line and we get a price action hit here, confirmation, or if we start making lower lows and lower highs in the 5-minute world and we start breaking this bear flag, that could be a great short, in fact. Because then we're continuing this downside. So keep an eye on the oscillator. Keep an eye on this green band. And when we see signals that we're turning here, or if you want to wait for the confirmation of the break, that's going to be probably the best short today. Now, the euro dollar might not happen in the next hour. So we're going to probably keep more an eye on the pound dollar because first of all, this still could push a few more pips, but that's that's not worth chasing, in my opinion, because it can fall maybe a few pips, but it's not worth it. It's better to wait for a bigger retracement and take the next fall. First of all, we already have 4 5-minute candles that haven't broken the low. The likelihood, we will have to wait another 10 minutes. If we don't get a break in the next 10 minutes of this low, then the likelihood of a retrace to the green band is very high. All right, it's pretty substantial. Am I interested in trading that? Some people would, but you know how I am. I'm more of a with the trend. I'm definitely a with the trend trader. So I would rather wait for the price to go back to the green band, and then wait for the confirmation for downside. So another 10 minutes, and then we'll know what this is indicating. But you can see that of this entire down move, we've had a cut of the low every 30 minutes. In most cases, every 5, in fact. If we did have a pause, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth candle broke the low. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth candle broke the low. Otherwise than that, 1, 2, 3, fourth broke the low. And otherwise, besides those, every 5 minutes made a lower low. Every one of them. If we don't do that here for 30 minutes, that is a sign for the bankers that the impulse is usually over. Is that an ironclad guarantee? No. Of course not. Nothing is. But it is usually a high probability. Sometimes you do get a last push, even if it's like 30, you get like on the 7th candle, still one more push here like that. So it's like you have to be careful of the 7th as well, more like 6 to 7 5-minute candles. And the last push is then at max probably like 8-pip break or something like that, 5 pips, and then you do see that upside. That sometimes happens as well. All right, so many traders don't know about it, but time factor is a method of communication as well. It's just that not many people know about it, in my opinion. Um, would be interesting to see what a banker says about that. Those green bands are 34 EMAs. Let's see, what is it? The close, open, and high. No. The close, low, and high. Yeah, low and high, sorry. So let's see. The currency still has some time. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the fifth. Let's see if we get the break here. As I said, I'm not interested in this smaller break personally. I'd rather wait for a bigger retrace. The next one is statistically a lot higher percentage-wise, but also a lot better in its reward to risk potential. Florida, I'm not sure what you mean with the best measurement for intraday trading. You mean the best indicator or best tool? I think if you talk about tools, I think probably the best one is this Camarilla indicator. But I like the AO2, the awesome oscillator. The Camarilla is good. But I like the awesome oscillator as well. Go to Inserts, Indicators, Bill Williams, awesome oscillator. But the awesome oscillator is not necessarily for intraday trading. It's just a good tool for all trading, in my opinion. The Camarilla, I think, is more specific for intraday trading. Does anyone else have an opinion on that? What do you think? Intraday trading MAC is a trade that is open and closed within the day. So we open a position now and close it before the end of the day. If you're a scalper, you actually open and close a position within, an hour or so. Anyone else have what is your favorite indicator for intraday trading? Anyone else have an opinion on that? Pound dollar still pushing up here. Pound dollar really likes to spike a lot, okay? Up and down, especially in the early session of London. Always be careful with the first hour of London. First hour of Europe and first hour of London are tricky environments, risky environments, okay? Market likes to shake out traders in these hours. So Florida Max has trendline breaks. That trend lines are always great stuff. I agree with that. But that's for all trading, I think, indeed. Support and resistance, I don't know about that, Mac, because the pound loves to break support and resistance on a smaller time frame and do the opposite. As I said, the pound is really likes to shake out people. It could be tricky with the pound dollar specifically, though. Maybe the euro dollar is better. That's true. Adrian is commenting, by the way, folks, that the pound is stronger than the euro today. That is definitely true. The euro pound has been moving down. In fact, it seemed to be in a good upside, but there was a pretty dramatic close and reverse yesterday on the smaller time frames, at least. Let me add these fractals here. getting a bit of a rejection here. That doesn't surprise me at that level. It had moved already up 24 pips or so in one go if you look at this 1 minute chart. So logically it's going to get some rejection. What I'm expecting here on this pound dollar at the moment is I was already calculating that 17 pips to here would probably be the rejection area. What I'm expecting though is looking at the oscillator and the movement so far is still to find a down move and support here for one more upside and then find the next rejection down. I'm especially interested in that one because there's more space. Now if that doesn't happen, that's okay. Then I'll let it break and try to catch it lower here. Okay. I'm not in a rush to catch it here. I would like to catch it here somewhere, but I want to be planning it at the right spot. And if I don't catch it, that's fine. I'll just catch the breakout lower. So there's not that much pressure here to catch a short, because I know that if I don't, that's fine, I'll catch it lower. I want to be extra careful here, and if I look at the 5-minute world, a zigzag, something like that, is in the cards. So I'd rather wait for that zigzag to finish and look for a reversal somewhere in here. So if you're a scalper, this would have been probably still worth the attempt. For me, the potential R2R here was nothing to be that enthusiastic about. So I'd rather wait for a bigger push up and the zigzag to finish. Get this to the zero line, like the euro dollar story I just told you. Also on the 5-minute world, we're tracing this support. If anything, if we don't make a zigzag, then we'll probably make a triangle like this and then break. That's also interesting. So it depends on which scenario unfolds, a zigzag or a triangle, but the blue circles would be the entry spots there, depending on which scenario unfolds, the zigzag or the triangle. If none of them unfold, then it'll just break to the downside and I'll catch it down lower at the Camarilla pivot BPs. So those are the scenarios today for the euro and pound, in my opinion. Alrighty, just a sip of tea there. Is that about what you were thinking of as well on the euro and pound? That's what good thing about the oscillator is, that you have an idea when you could, expect the retracement to finish. When the oscillator is back to the zero line, especially if it's a strong move like that, you're pretty certain about the continuation if it's back to the zero line. I love it because of that. If you have a strong move up on all time frames, almost all time frames, depending on the situations, of course, but if you have, for example, a strong move up in the 1 hour chart, that is a very high statistical probability that the top will be broken if you look at the oscillator and you see that strong momentum. A very useful thing. So the euro dollar at the last moment still pushing through that low. That is the 2, 4, that is the 7th candle sometimes I talked about. That does happen, 2, 4, yeah, the 6th. The thing is, if you see a 6th very bearish like that right in front of the low, then you should wait for the 7th. That's basically what it boils down to. I'll show you. Look here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th, it didn't break it, but look at that. You can see the momentum in the candle where it's just right at the low, then definitely wait for the 7th. This is a pretty big 4-hour bar, folks, so a lot of bearish momentum here. You can see around 133, that was a support level we broke. That could be the resistance. And if you look at that 133 level, that's equal to the 15-minute band approximately, or the 5-minute band is already pushing through it, in fact. But I'm just estimating the likelihood, if the 15-minute world starts to retrace back to the zero line as well, the correction could take longer. So that's something that you should be aware of as well. If the 5-minute the 5-minute AO could go back to the zero line, then we can get a bounce, and then we could still find support here for the 50-minute AO to go back to the zero line. And that would be the major turning spot. That's something. Then we get a bigger bear flag. We won't get a bear flag on the 5-minute world, but the 15. Something to be aware of. Doesn't have to be though. We could get a 5-minute bear flag break, and something like that will happen. And then we get the 15-minute retracement. So either scenario could unfold: 5-minute bear flag break, and then a 15-minute retracement, or bear flag break, one more push up, and then the bigger break. The Oscar and the SMI both in oversold, and you can see this indicator 2 in oversold. So we're coming in definitely in an area where we're reaching a potential place where we could see a bounce and then a continuation. Our indicators would move away from the oversold levels, and it will be recharged for more downside, probably. Okay. Regarding, let me show you quickly here the website. Okay, go to education and webinars, and any questions regarding certain topics, maybe like support and resistance, you'll find them here. So for example, Florida, if you're wondering about support and resistance, it's going to take me long to explain it, but you have here beginner's guide to Fibonacci support levels. That was the 12th of August, for example. But we talked about support and resistances here as well, a bit more advanced maybe on the 6th of June. So you can see a lot of topics we have here. I mean, if you go through all these videos, you really have almost a complete educational diploma behind you in the field of Forex trading, because there are really a lot of topics here. If you've gone through all of that, I mean, you know almost all there is to know. I mean, there are definitely some topics we're still going to add. Soon we'll be talking about, let's see, range trading. That's today. Next week, risk management, because we haven't talked about that yet, as a separate topic that is needed as well. Characteristics of a currency pair. We have still stuff to talk about, but AO, by the way, unfortunately that person left, but the AO indicator is the awesome oscillator indicator, okay? Let me add the euro pound on this. Euro pound has been very wacky. Breaking this trend line here. I'm just keeping an eye on the euro pound because we're looking at the euro and the pound dollar. So yeah, we were talking about the potential of this rising wedge yesterday, weren't we? But the funny thing was that we broke it actually just a bit and then made a close in reverse. Very funny. Anyhow, for our trading, it's just good to know that the pound indeed is moving against the euro. So let's see, the euro dollar is still, yeah, it's at an unfavorable position here. All right, it's not something I would like to trade because we're definitely in oversold region. I wanted to gain that retracement and continue, as I said. You can see it's pushed through by a pip, but then got some support. I don't know. It's slowish here. I don't think it will be much downside before we do that. Let's see. Let's take a look at the pound again. So pound making that zigzag probably, as I said. Let's see if that's true because maybe here we can do like that and then move up, and we'll get something like this. Something like that could happen. Or maybe this. All right, so I'm going to wait for that triangle or the zigzag to finish. All right, still the same story. We can maybe otherwise take a look at some other currencies because, in fact, at the moment we're going to need. It's going to take some time, I guess, before we have something really tradable, I think. Although maybe if this fractal gets broken, could be worth the consideration. Could be a bit too early though. See, that could be the retrace of that 4-hour candle. It's good to plan on a retrace, but sometimes, that's all the retrace, and it doesn't retrace more. That is possible. The pound, though, it could easily retrace up to here. It doesn't have to. That's the thing. If we break this 1-minute top, though, we'll probably have divergence on the 1-minute world. Okay, that would be the best. If we break this top at 8 pips, the top is at 155.23. 8 pips would be 155.31. That would be equal to this top. That could be the turning spot there. 155.31. I think was also, let me take a look at the other chart here. 55.31. It's pretty close to that Asian high, so that would make sense as well. The pound loves 8. That's why Tarantula has the, what was it, the, let's see, what Fibonacci number is that? 80, 81? If I'm correct, let me recalculate that. 55 plus, no, 89, sorry. Well, anyhow, the pound really likes the 8 number. So we have a webinar on that as well, by the way, the GU characteristics of our GU, intraday trading GU or something like that. Let's see. Let's keep an eye on this one because maybe it will make that. It will not make that retracement. Could be that we don't have enough buying power here to push that up. So let's see if we break that 5-minute and maybe hook back. We can try to attempt that earlier short. Remember the better short is either with the income indicator lower, or if we do move up at a higher resistance. Kind of 1-minute doji there. Let's see if that could be a support. We're building a triangle here in the 1-minute world. Bounced off the bottom of the triangle. We can obviously see that downtrend here. But the angle of the faster moving average is quite flat at the moment. Something we should be aware of. But it is in the downtrend. It's just that that recent spike did, that was a pretty hefty move as well. That was really a fast 130 pip upside. Now technically we are still at resistance, but it was kind of a funny move in a way. Euro dollar is still fighting against that bottom. We've had 5 candles now sideways. Going nowhere at the moment. We just have to wait. Dollar Swiss is of course moving up because of the dollar index. And we were talking about this formation that it was at the bottom, the dollar Swiss. And if it breaks that black line, well, then maybe it's going to the upside. There's a lot of space to the upside there. It was at the bottom, major support levels. If it breaks that smaller resistance, it could be making that move up. That's exactly what it's doing. So if you're in that trade, you're probably up some 60 pips at the moment. Great job on that. Dollar CAD is still in the bull flag. All right, so I'm waiting for a break of that bull flag. Odd dollar has retraced to a 50 fib most likely. Could be finding the top right there. We did break this rising wedge formation on the smaller time frame. Do you see that? And hit the 50 fib there, or just missed it by 2 pips, I think. So that could be downside to the next bottom. New Zealand is right at a major bottom. We have to wait for a break or bounce, because especially a break would be interesting in my opinion, but a bounce could be interesting too, back to 81. But right here, most logical would be to wait for a break or confirmation of upside, which confirmation would probably be or this 4-hour break here, okay? About 80.78.70. That's the 4-hour resistance. Pound, yeah, no, it's just awkwardly sideways. It's probably making a wedge. Euro yen as well. There could be one more fall maybe to the bottom of the wedge, or maybe this is the bottom of the wedge already. Let's see. Euro odd. I have a lot of things here. Let me take them off. Euro odd made a spike to the upside here, or continuation I should say, but is now finding a deeper retracement. But it is moving back to an area where it could be support. Oh, someone had a question on the EJ. Let me look into that. If we can sell from 130.62, okay, folks, that's that thick green line here. That's 130.62. No, Anis, we didn't go through this. We're really only looking at the euro and the pound so far. This is the first time I'm looking at other currencies, and it is a 50 fib. It could be a resistance spot, yeah. Definitely could. There could be still that space to the bottom of that triangle, the black line here, which could complete the triangle, in fact. So it would make sense, in my opinion. So euro odd could be back at the support level. Euro New Zealand might be as well. Pound odd is staying above the broken top here around this, so it could be still more upside left. Pound New Zealand is right at the top, so no decision there as yet. Odd New Zealand, I'm looking for a break of this bull flag or channel. That would be interesting. Well, that's about it, I guess. Unless you have something you really want to look at, we can take a look at that, of course. Let me know. This is the Aussie here. Nice break of that rising wedge. Great trade there. Dollar yen, we can take a look at that. Dollar yen. Same story. Okay. basically in a triangle. Still has some space to the bottom maybe, but the thing is when you get close to bottoms and tops of triangles is that last push down, might not happen. If it's so close, you can easily do this and the triangle is complete. So maybe there's space, maybe not. That's always that's riskier. So you can see here an A, B, C, D, E potential for more upside. A break of this top line would indicate that continuation. Right now we're in the middle of a triangle, so not interesting at the moment, okay? Triangle right in the middle. Pound Swissy, breaking this downtrend channel. Getting some Swiss weakness here. So that's it regarding the other currencies. You have a quick idea what I'm looking for, especially the dollar CAD and the New Zealand I find particularly interesting for the break of those bull flags. All right. Let's go back to the euro and pound. Euro did push through a bit. But we have divergence now on the 1-minute chart, so that shouldn't go too far. That 1-minute divergence should see some retracement here. You never know, but at some point it is going to make that retracement, okay? We have 1-minute divergence here, so we'll go up, retrace, make a down move, get 5-minute divergence, retrace, make a down move, get 15-minute divergence, something like that. That's what the currency is always doing, basically. Alrighty, pound dollar is spiking up. You're going to see a lot of that around this hour. Up, down, up, down, up. So let's see. Yeah, it broke the smaller triangle indeed. So there could have been a scalp if we were watching it maybe, but as I said, I'm more looking for a swing intraday, swing scalp maybe. Now we're in this. So let's see if we can. There's no guarantee we make that zigzag, as I said. It could definitely be stuck in this triangle like that. Get a rejection here, a bounce here, and then break, for example. It's getting a pretty hefty rejection as we speak, actually. So maybe we won't be able to get that high. This is a tug of war, basically the last since we've been looking in this zone here. Remember, we always have, if we catch nothing here, we always have the potential for it to break. Just like yesterday, wait for that. That was really perfect. Wait for that, something of a triangle or something like that here, and then you have the next trade. Also, one more thing is that we should realize as well that when we get close to the end of the month, especially tomorrow, of course, that those are always high-risk days. I'm not sure if you know that, but the last or first of anything is more risk. The first month of the year, the last month of the year. The first day of the week, the last day of the week. The first hour of the session, the last hour of the day, or the London day, let's say. The first 5 minutes of the hour, the last 5 minutes of the hour. Anything with first and last is always more risk. So the first day of the month and the last day of the month as well. And again, we move up. It's funny, huh? We need to have patience here. You need to have patience either for that triangle to let it make that triangle or get that break lower. Of course, we do have a holiday on Monday, indeed, at Nice. I'm not sure if that would necessarily affect Friday, because even if there were no public holiday, I think it would be just as risky if there would not be a holiday on Monday, I think. But it could mean that we have a slower start of the next month, of course, that's for sure. That basically the first and last of anything is more risky. So any time frame, the first hour, the first month, the first week, the first day of the week, the first week of the month, the first month of the year, and that holds true for the last as well. Those are always a bit more riskier, especially like the last day of the month or the last week of the year. Those are always the first week of the year. Those are always the most risky. And the reason why is you have to realize that there are institutions, hedge funds, companies, they all want to do transactions on that last day. Why is that so? Because hedge funds are closing their positions to book profit, so they can show their investors, hey, I've booked this profit, because if the trade is open, it can't be booked, and the investor would not understand there's a floating profit of 300 pips. He's not going to take that as profit. So they have to close their trades. That's why. With those closing of trades, you get a high fluctuation, a high impact on the market. There could be a trend in place, but because of that, the closing of those trades have an adverse effect. they have a volatile effect. No problem for that. No problem at all. Let's take a look at maybe the euro, because this pound is doing that triangle that we were thinking of could happen. But it still needs an up and down and then a break. That break is very interesting to trade. At the moment, we only have a higher high and a higher low at the moment. Okay, you see that? We have a higher high, higher low here, and we have a lower high at the moment. We're almost, we still need this candle to finish in 2 minutes, that we have that, right? That's the pattern that we were thinking, all the time since here. I was already envisioning that could happen, or the zigzag, right? I've told you now a couple of times, and indeed, Adrian, probably the triangle is more likely. I do think so. Probably, if I had to give statistics, I would say 75-25 to force the zigzag, I guess. Your dollar is just inching forward here. It's kind of like a channel here. You can even use the band on the 1 minute chart. You see that? That's funny, isn't it? Look at that. You see that? Look at this band capturing price. That's pretty cool, actually. Don't you think? I have to admit, I love this band. Didn't know that was that accurate on the 1 minute chart even. So maybe if it breaks, that band and the highs here, that could be the signal that we're actually making that retracement that we were looking for ever since the beginning of our session. It's a pity, folks, that this break, happened prior to our session. Because what we get stuck with is this stupid movement, and we're waiting for this one. Let's see if we can break those highs here. We'll be breaking the band on the 1 minute chart. Can happen any minute. We do have divergences, as I said, on the 1 minute chart. Let's see. How does this look like on the 50-minute world? Still pushing to the upside. It's approaching the 5-minute top right here. So, we're going to get a clue if this is going to be a triangle or a zigzag pretty soon, I guess, because we're approaching that the top right now. So if we do respect it, we'll be moving down back to the bottom. We could see another bounce. So then we would have an A, B, C, D. That would be the D. This is the C, most likely. If we do bounce at D, we'll probably go up for E, and we'll finish the triangle. Now, if you don't bounce at D, then this was some other formation. Then we'll probably break this support and fall. But I think that the chances of an ABCD are pretty good. We'll find out soon enough. Is there any questions, by the way? Because we are approaching the end of our session. So if you do have any questions, please let me know. In the meantime, I'll just attend or give one more recommendation, or no, how do you say it? One more advice that we do have the educational webinar on range trading later on in the day. It's 5 p.m. UK time, 6 p.m. Central European time, 8 p.m. Moscow time, or if you're in the US, that is noon Eastern. And then Tuesday we'll be looking at swing trading. The reason why we do Tuesday swing trading is because swing trades are always the best. In fact, if you can on, I would say, Monday New York, or probably best Tuesday, because then you have a few days for the trade to develop. That's like an intra-week trade. If you take an intra-week trade on Friday, well, you don't have much time before the market closes, right, for the weekend. So that's why I don't take intra-week trades on Friday, for example. And I tend to take intra-week trades on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we did push through that, just a tad, a pip there through that high on the 5-minute chart. Maybe we'll get the zigzag, who knows? Slow 1 hour. The euro dollar is pushing through that band, so maybe that's the first signal that we could make that retracement, right? Because we broke the low here by 10 pips. As I said, it won't be much because it's likely we'll get a retracement here, and it could be that that's the first signal. It's anyhow the first punch through the way this band really since the beginning of the fall. So that could be the signal. See that? Right in there. Let's put some Bollinger Bands on this 1-minute chart, see how that looks like. You see we hit that, the band significantly froze here, and then we got the move up here. It's a pretty big move for a 1 minute chart, 9 pips here. It's really useful. We can keep this Bollinger Band on. It could be useful as for next week as an indication where, for example, the price is oversold as an extra confirmation. You can see this maybe this doji here right at the band and at the top of this Bollinger Band as well. You could use this for scalping maybe. Maybe we can focus on scalping the next week, because sometimes these these swing scalps can sometimes take long, in fact, to materialize. Because if you look at the pound dollar, for example, still waiting for that, that setup that we've been planning for, but it still hasn't materialized. So, I mean, it's getting close. We're at 155.20. I'm looking for anything between 155.30 and 155.40, right? So we are getting close. We're right at the pivot, in fact. Looks like the band is now being used as a support. You see that? So probably getting the continuation bounce here. Well, I guess we're going to have to wrap it up, folks. You know what I'm looking for regarding the swing scalp? I like this euro trade. If we make that move back on the escalator to the zero line, that's what I'm going to keep an eye on. I think the euro is probably the better swing scalp to the downside, just because indeed the euro pound is moving down as well. So I would prefer the euro. But yeah, we were looking at the pound more for a trade right now. That if it does move into that zone, look, I could look for a rejection here as well. Although, as I said, I like the euro a bit more. It's just that I didn't expect the euro trade to happen in our session, while I gave the pound more realistic chances for that trade to materialize within our session. So that was pretty accurate, because the euro indeed didn't do that as yet. And I think it will, of course, eventually. We'll get into that situation that we can short it later today. The pound was close to that, so could happen soon. Okay? So that's the euro pound for today. I'll make a note. I always forget about it, but maybe I'm always looking more for a swing scalp, but maybe it's just time is too short, and sometimes the position is not accurate enough. So maybe we can, in some cases, look for a how do you call it? For the scalping. Okay, maybe we can do that next week. I'll make a mental note. We'll take a look at that. So if you have any questions, let me know now. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to see you with the range trading later on today, as I already said. And I wish you good luck with these trades. Let me know if you have any questions regarding anything I've said. Once again, there is a webinar on scalping, by the way. That's recorded and archived. There is a recording on GU intraday trading as well. So you can take a look at those if you want. But obviously today the movement was very, in our session, was very minimal here, and very choppy as well if you look at this 1 minute world. So, you know, of course, we always want to capitalize on movements in the Forex, but if there is no movement, then, you know, sitting on our hands and, you know, applying the weight trade can be very profitable, right? Because not losing money is just as important as gaining money and making profit. Okay, always realize that. Patience in waiting for trade setups, I think, is probably the way to make money at the end of the day. And it's difficult to see that probably if you're just starting out. I don't know exactly the experience level we have, of course, in this webinar. But you will find out that that is one of the key factors, in fact, okay? So we have a question here from Adrian regarding the MACD. MACD dual, it's kind of, this is kind of like the oscillator in a way, this awesome oscillator. It's very similar, isn't it? I don't need both of them, in fact. I use it the same as the oscillator, the awesome oscillator. And if you're wondering how I use the awesome oscillator, well, I use it for swing highs, swing lows. I use it for then determining where to fib it. I use it for edit waves. I use it for retracements. When has the retracement been finished? Just like the euro dollar 5 minute downside, I'm saying like look for the AO to go back to the zero line, because then 5 minute session, 5 minute retracement has been finished. Okay, so those are the things I use it for. I use it for how powerful is a move. So if it's a very strong move, I know that the break at the top is pretty likely. So you can. We talked about the MACD. Let me see, where was that? We did talk about it. Let me see. Something called indicators. Here. How to trade using classical indicators. 18th of July. So we'll dive into how I use the oscillator. Excuse me. But also how Nenet or Tirantala is using his MACD and other indicators, I think. Hi, David. Yeah, I wanted to answer your question, but just at the moment that I was answering it, you left, in fact. The AO is indeed the awesome oscillator from Bill Williams, and you can do that by going to Insert, go to Indicators, Bill Williams, and Awesome Oscillator. So that is correct. That is the one indeed. And I also use fractals. Okay, so insert indicators Bill Williams, and he has a whole bunch of them. He's the only one that has his name in the indicator list, as you can see. So he's definitely pretty important. Definitely worth reading his books as well. Good stuff there. All right. So thanks for being here, first of all, and wish you good trading the rest of the day and the week as well. Be careful with tomorrow, as I said. Looking forward to see you tonight, and wish you all a great day, okay? Cheers.
The organizer